there's no such thing as safe patients when it comes to violence against healthcare workers, unless they're like intubated, sedated, completely out. Because on today's edition of Violence Against Healthcare Workers, this morning in the emergency department at HCA Florida JFK North Hospital, a nurse was assaulted by a paraplegic patient. Yeah. She went in to relieve the sitter, and he grabbed her hair, pulled her down right to his level where he needed her, and just started beating the shit out of her. Because of course, luckily there was a police officer in the department who heard her screaming, and it took a minute, but they got him off of her. And I believe he's been charged with assault. Paraplegic.
I'm a nurse in Florida, and I live paycheck to paycheck. I provide for myself and my child financially, and I'm sitting here on an hourly wage that I can barely pay my bills or save any money. We live in a very high market and high economy in a very popular city that's very expensive. However, pay-wise, that is not adjusting. The math ain't mathin'. I'm sitting here as a parent on a single income household trying to make ends meet, trying to pay my bills. I'm literally living to work. And I would dare to say it's almost impossible to survive on a single income, even without a kid, in this economy with the hourly rate that we make, without working an insane amount of overtime or without working multiple jobs. And I'm not making this video to complain and moan about the issue. I'm making this video to bring awareness. A lot of other nurses are bringing awareness too. I'm sitting here having an opinion, and I'm gonna share it. Something has got to give and something has got to change, because a lot of us love our jobs. I love my job as a nurse. I really enjoy what I do. I think it's one of the best decisions I ever made to go get my license. However, I feel like the compensation in the state that we live in is not fair wage. If rent was cheaper, groceries were cheaper, gas was cheaper, the place we live was cheaper, we'd all be probably a lot better off. But that's not the case. Keeps going up and our pay is not. So make it make sense.
Imagine being a nurse in Florida and having to ask for permission to quit. That's where we are now. See, Florida's Choice Act just didn't sneak in. It slid through without DeSantis even signing it. It's one of the most extreme non-compete laws in the country. We're talking 4 years where certain workers, especially high earners, can't leave to work for a competitor. That includes a whole bunch of healthcare workers, tech folk, finance, and even executive level folks at nonprofits. And if your job decides to sue you, you can't even work somewhere else while the case is in court. So you're stuck with no income, just waiting. So y'all, we gotta call it what it is. It's a trap. This ain't about protecting opportunity. This is about rich donors like Ken Griffin helping to write laws to keep you stuck in a place while they continue to make money. See, Florida keeps selling out working people to corporations. First it was housing, then it was education. Now it's your freedom to leave a job. And folks wonder why healthcare workers and teachers are leaving red states. So if you ever wanted to know what economic control looks like, it looks just like this.
Nearly every bone in her face was broken. She may never see again. And why? Because she was just doing her job. On February 18th, 2025, at HCA Florida Palms West Hospital, a nurse was brutally attacked by a patient under mental health evaluation. 33-year-old Stephen Eric Scantlebury pinned her down and beat her so severely that doctors say she is likely to lose vision in both eyes. Then he fled. This was not an isolated incident. It's part of a pattern. As a legal nurse consultant myself, I do analyze cases involving healthcare, safety violations, and medical liability. And let me be clear, our system is failing to protect its frontline workers. This attack is horrific, but it is not unique. Violence against nurses is a nationwide crisis. In New York, a nurse was fatally shot in a hospital. In Longwood, Florida, a nurse who was 32 weeks pregnant was attacked by a patient. She survived, but she lost her unborn baby. In Louisiana, in an emergency room, a nurse was stabbed multiple times by a patient who overpowered security. And in California, A psychiatric nurse was beaten into a coma by a patient. She never fully recovered. These are not just headlines. These are real people, real nurses who walked into work expecting to save lives and barely made it out alive. And thousands of nurses suffer violent attacks every single day that don't make the news. Understaffing, inadequate security, and hospital policies that prioritize patient satisfaction over staff safety are fueling these attacks. Nurses are expected to de-escalate violent situations without proper training or backup. Meanwhile, legislation meant to protect us remains inconsistent and under-enforced. In the Florida case, Scantlebury is facing attempted second-degree murder charges with a hate crime enhancement. But why does it take a case this extreme for the legal system to act? What about the countless nurses who face violence daily and never see justice? So here's what needs to happen. Stronger hospital security and legal protections for nurses. Strict enforcement of workplace violence laws in healthcare. And we need federal policies making attacks on nurses a felony nationwide. Tag a nurse, share this message, demand action. If the law won't protect the people saving lives, then the system is broken.
Hi guys, so it's another sad day to be a nurse. I wanted to talk about the harsh reality of working in healthcare. Where do I even start? Nurses are the heart and soul of a hospital, and a hospital truly won't function without nurses. And it's just very disgusting and heartbreaking to hear when nurses get attacked, and you hear this on the news, but let's be real, it's happening on a daily. It's happening more frequent and often than what you might hear on the news. It's happening a lot. And, let's talk about it. By now, everyone might know about the incident that just recently happened on February 18, 2025. A nurse was brutally attacked by a patient, a 33-year-old male patient in Florida. He beat her up so bad that she broke all the bones in her face. And from what I read, she's most likely going to lose her vision. I don't mind recording like this. I have pimples. I don't want to show it. He broke all the bones in her face. And, just let that sink in. She showed up to work to help people, to save lives, and instead she was left fighting for her own life. And this isn't just some freak incident that just randomly happened. This is the reality of healthcare, and the violence against nurses and healthcare workers happens all the time, and it's getting worse. And, as a nurse myself, I worked in psych for about 3 years, and there are days where, I work overnights, and sometimes I'm the only nurse on the floor with a full unit, 28 patients, 1 or 2 techs. That's not a safe ratio at all. Imagine being by yourself with 28 psych patients, and a lot of them are aggressive patients. And if something went wrong, I'm completely on my own. Hospitals like that kind of make you you're kind of on your own. You have to be your own security guard. You have to be everything on your own. And it sucks because majority of hospitals cares more about profits than the safety of nurses and patients. Most of them sometimes are cutting staff due to budgeting. They ignore security concerns. And, it just really pushes nurses to have to do everything for themselves. And they just expect us to just go to work and deal with it, you know, like nothing happened. Like, and the worst part is, you know, like nurses have the biggest heart and they always put patients first, always. But like, at what cost? What is our life worth? Is it worth being brutally attacked? Is it worth being permanently disabled? Is it worth dying for? And there's people who say, oh yeah, you guys know what you guys signed up for. Yeah, but we sign up going with, like, yo, listen, we go into nursing thinking that the people around us will help protect nurses. Like, we're going to a field where we're going to help people. Like, we're not thinking that. We're going to get hurt on the job. Like, we didn't, like, you would expect that a company, a hospital, you know, like, just like people who do have funding. A lot of them do have funding. Should just prioritize the safety of nurses, because in order for nurses to be safe, they ensure that patients are safe. A lot of the system does not care, and honestly, like, nurses are getting hurt, abused, disrespected, and in some cases, like, killed, and all because we chose a career in helping others. And the system, unfortunately, does not care. You know, like, this attack should be a wake-up call. The safety of nurses has to be a priority, and we need better staffing, better security, and, you know, real consequences when there are violence against healthcare workers. You know, enough is enough. And we should not have to fear for our lives at work. We should not have to tolerate abuse just because we chose a career in healthcare. You know, my heart goes out to the nurse in Florida who was brutally attacked, and any other nurse who's been in that situation. You know, like, you guys all deserve justice. She deserves justice. And until real change happens, we need to all be speaking up, because our lives matter. And, you know, this just, enough is enough. You know, this is a time where we all need to speak up. And I'm glad that I left the hospital. Like, now I'm doing case management, and, you know, I would never go back to the hospital, because it's just, I see things like this, and, you know, it really is time to make a difference. We all need to speak up, because we're overworked, we're disrespected, but at what cost?